What's up guys, it's Light Spiral here, and today I wanted to bring you guys a new video that I think I might be turning into kind of a mini series, and it's going to be called 5 Reasons Why You Should Build Susano. Now the series isn't going to be about why you should build Susano, it's going to be 5 reasons why you should or should not build blank. So the first episode I'm just going to do Susano because I have some reasons for it. And in the future, if you guys want to leave suggestions for monsters you think are overrated or underrated, feel free to leave that in the comments. And so the 5 reasons you should build Susano, that does imply that I think Susano is actually kind of underrated. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons that I think that more people should build him, and not only build him, but use him. So the first reason that's actually a pretty easy reason is he's farmable, so you don't need to get him in scrolls, and he's super easy to build. Is just a nat 4, so you got to farm up a nat 2 and 3 nat 3s, get him to 4-star max, awaken them, and then you get a Susano. That also means that any skill ups you want for him would be farmable. And the ninjas, you're not really using any of the other ones probably. Maybe you used Orochi in your beginner's Giants B10 team. Garo, you might be using him actually, and if you want to skill him up, that's fine, but he doesn't really need skill ups. And then light and dark ninjas, light one's trash, and if you have the dark one, then fine, you can give your skill ups to the dark one because he is a nat 5, but odds are you guys don't have him. So him being farmable is just actually a huge plus. So I feel like I should also just mention, I'll show you guys my build in case you're wondering. You saw the stats there for a while. His skills actually are maxed. I regret that. Susano was the first ever 6-star I made way back when, like 3.5 years ago. And I gave him Devilmons actually. I didn't even feed him ninjas to skill him up. I Devilmoned him. So I do regret using the Devilmon on him, but he's actually a decent monster. You can see I've definitely got him on pretty leftover runes right now. Focus, Guard, Nemesis, nothing special with slot 1. And I got him on speed with their slot 3, crit rate, slot 5, and attack. So nothing too crazy on him right now, but you could kind of expect that. The stats aren't totally terrible. I wanted a little bit of accuracy on him so he could use his second skill for the attack bar decrease. And he has good enough crit rate, 190 speed, and decent HP, and the attack is what's lacking, attack and crit damage, but he does the job just fine. So my second reason for why I think he's a pretty good option to build, and why more people should build him, and if you're looking for a monster maybe, is that he's actually a pretty good option for a lot of Guild War offense comps. So the Bernard, Galleon, Tayor kind of comp is kind of dying out. It's not as popular anymore. But Susano is a great replacement for the Tayor in that comp. So if you're fighting against a team where all you need to do is take out one threat that's not wind, Bernard, Galleon, Susano will take it out pretty reliably, because Susano's second skill, nuke right here, the slicing winds, with these runes on it, reliably hits 30k for me. And you can see these runes aren't crazy. You could take into account that I do have the max attack and crit damage towers, but I don't have the maxed water tower yet, so it's actually pretty solid. And other teams I like to use him with is just because of this leader skill he's got. He's super fun in all water teams. Some examples of teams I use with Susano is Susano with Orion and Tark, or Orion and Wusa. That's a pretty good one too. And there's a ton of other monsters he's good with. He's good with stuff like Bastet. I don't really use him with Emma because Emma doesn't really match him very well. Sometimes I've used Susano, Orion, and Lapis in a team, and that's worked pretty well too. Also, Susano, Galleon, and Emma can work sometimes, but not always. But so he's pretty dang good in a lot of Guild War offense comps for people around my level. I'm a C1 to C3 or Guild War player. Occasionally push G1, but when we push G1, we fall pretty quick. So that's that. So now I'll get into the third reason, and that third reason is that he's actually a pretty solid Dragons B10 monster. For this, I'll actually just show you a run with him in Dragons B10, and you guys can see. Now, you might have saw that team. Definitely not a crazy team. The runes on them are far from crazy. I have a nuke Galleon and a nuke Verd, so if one of them dies on the 3rd stage, that just might actually happen. And the Bella is, of course, on leftover runes. Kona, you saw Susano's runes, and Kona, I don't actually know what kind of runes I have on Kona. But of course, stuff like Vero instead of Kona would make this team a lot better. And instead of Galleon, you could use something like Megan to make this team a lot safer. But I was just messing around with this team so you guys can see it. And if you're looking for a Dragons V10 team, maybe this is the team you want. I don't know. Instead of Susano in this team, something like Hua would honestly be better if you already have a Hua. But if you're looking to make Susano anyways, this could be your excuse to build him. And if Kona could cleanse right here, okay, that was pretty needed, because otherwise that definitely would have been a dead Verd right there. And the reason he's good in Dragons V10 is if you got an all-water team, you can use the leader skill. Odds of you using an all-water team is fairly low, because most people use Bella, Vero, and Verd. All three of those guys aren't water. So if you're using Verd, especially now that the Verd event came out and everyone's got a Verd, just use the Verd leader skill because it's only 2% less, and he gives it to all the elements. But Susano's second skill, if you give him enough accuracy, is actually super helpful in this because it's 50% attack bar decrease every 2 turns. So that's the same attack bar decrease as Hua. Now Hua does do the speed debuff, and she has that chance to do the kind of violent thing with her passive, and so that's also obviously pretty dang nice right there to be able to get the proc. But Susano does the job just fine. He's got the anti-crit passive, so he actually survives pretty well because the combination of he's got element advantage and he's got an anti-crit passive on him makes it so the dragon really doesn't crit him a lot, which probably isn't all that surprising actually, that a water monster with anti-crit passive doesn't get crit by the fire dragon in Dragons V10. But yeah, he's a pretty solid damage dealer option. I don't think I've seen too many people, or I don't think I'd recommend either, using Susano for your first sub 1 minute clear. And my only sub 1 minute clears, which I only have a handful because my fastest team's like 1:15, so sub 1 minute is not my average clear time. And this run just went nothing but awful. The dragon had the immunity on it pretty much the whole game because Bella is just on this endless loop of not letting the seize. So okay, well, so this run turned out super close, and it might actually just barely win. It didn't quite win, but I'm sure you guys could see where that team would have the potential to win, especially if you switched the what's it called, Kona with Vero. So here you can see, oh, actually I don't have a damage build on my Verd. He's got 20,000 HP. He's good enough, and the Galleon has no HP. So there you go. That's just some runes for you. Bella is not on a violent with no HP and good enough speed, honestly. I'm not going to complain about that. And Kona is actually pretty dang good right now. So wasn't Kona's fault on that one. But anyways, back to Susano. I'll get into my 4th reason why I think he's actually a pretty good option to build. And that is, he's not the best faimon farmer, but he is a faimon farmer if you're looking for one. Now, of course, a lot of people actually have the Lapis for faimon farming now, and Lapis or Susano, I mean, Lapis is probably the safer option, but Susano will get the job done too. This passive, it's on a fire team. Your Susano is, faimon is all fire monsters, so anti-crit passive, resistance passive, and against all fire monsters. He's not going to get crit a lot. He's not going to get defense broken by the Rayoks a lot. He's got the leader skill that will work for him. And if you just give him some vampire runes, he will be able to farm faimon just fine. About a minute, you know, more or less, depending on if you can one-shot them all. If you can get enough damage to one-shot them, definitely under a minute. If you have to 2-shot the last stage, obviously it's going to be a little longer. But he's actually a good option for your first faimon farmer. Of course, not your last faimon farmer. He doesn't have any AoEs. He's not that quick. But first faimon farmer, he is an option. And my last reason is something I mentioned earlier, and that's that he doesn't need skill ups, and any monster in this game that does not require skill ups is a bonus because you don't have to waste Devilmons / other skill ups for him. So if you have a bunch of extra ninjas lying around and you want to give them to Garo, you can do it. If you want to give him to your Han because you've got a Han somehow, you can do it. Jin, Orochi, whatever, you can do it. Susano doesn't need a single skill up to do anything. When you look at the skill ups, he gets 1 cooldown turn, which admittedly is pretty nice. And damage, you don't need the damage that bad. And this skill, it's just damage. You really don't need the skill ups, and no skill ups on this even allowed. And also, if you do choose to skill them up with ninjas, don't do Devilmons, but with ninjas, it only takes 8 in total to max it. Or if you're lucky, you could just do 4 and call it a day if you get this all rolled into the second skill. So that is pretty much my 5 reasons for why I think more people should build Susano. I'm not saying he's a must-have in everyone's monster box, but this is why I think more people should build him or try him. And I'd say the best people that should go for him would be the early game players and the late game players that just want a toy to mess around with. And the reason why I say a toy to mess around with is because you can definitely mess around with full water comps in Guild Wars thanks to this leader skill. So that's why I say end game players looking for a toy. I don't mean it as in he's super good end game. I just mean he could be fun. It's fun to use the ninja's leader skills in Guild Wars, basically. But so that's pretty much all I have for this video, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave that down in the comments. Also, if you have any overrated or underrated monsters, you can leave that down in the comments too. I'm going to try and alternate, so I do an underrated and then an overrated and repeat the process. So next video will be a 5 reasons you should not use so-and-so. So if you have any recommendations, feel free to leave that in the comments. But that's really all I have for today though, guys. So may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows.